Mill 75, and this is your Massachusetts beer reviews. Wait a minute, I said that wrong. That's all right. That guy over there, Bumpy Road Brewery, from the great state of New Hampshire. That guy, John Anilli, Georgia Beer Reviews, state of Georgia. It's the Haze Craze. Y'all should know what that means in craft beer. Those hazy, cold, I don't know, chill hazed beers from New England in origin of style. Anything. It could be pale ale, it could be IPA, it could be double, it could be a American blonde ale, it could be a hoppy lager, whatever it is. It's got to be a hazy New England themed hoppy beer today. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the people are bringing to the table. I know that John bought a whole 6-pack of some really good. What'd you bring today, John Anilli?
Well, I bought it's a local brewery out of Decatur, Georgia, 3 Taverns. This is Rowdy and Proud. It is a New England style IPA with melon, mosaic, and Amarillo hops. It is 6% alcohol by volume, and I thought the IBUs were listed on the can, but they're not. So I'm going to try to look it up and see if they're listed on the website, but they may not be. A lot of times these New England style IPAs, they don't even bother with the IBUs. And they do not list the IBUs on the website either. It just says 6% alcohol. So who knows?
Okay. Interesting stuff there. Bumpy Road Brewery. What do we have today?
So from Backyard Brewery out of Manchester, New Hampshire, I have Hop Rhino.
Nice.
This now I could probably look. I should have looked it up. I guess I don't do that stuff. But anyways, it is a double dry hopped New England style double IPA. Comes in at 8.2% ABV. It does not mention the hops or the IBUs. I'm sure that they do on their beer list at the brewery, but
yeah. All right, I'm trying to get the word out to these crazy people in the internet drinking community today, because I've been sitting on some of these beers, drinking them down, tasting them. Got another one of those Treehouse Brewing Company beers. There's a hazy beer for you. This one's called Sap. 3 S's and 3 P's. I guess this is a variation, this version called Sap, of their original Sap SAP, which they say is designed to push the original flavor profile to a heightened level of depth and intensity through the careful use of an additional kettle and dry hops. This is 7%, 7.8%, and they say to drink cold, keep cold, and enjoy fresh within 6 to 8 weeks of canning. And we have September 25th, 2019, so we're definitely within their window of freshness dates on that. So that's some pretty cool stuff. I guess while we get into our beers, cheers, struggling one. While we get into our beers, I guess we can start with John. Your thoughts and opinions going into drinking your beer of New England hoppy hazy beers. What do you think of that style, and do you drink it often?
Yeah, I like the New England style IPAs a lot better than I like the West Coast IPAs. This one definitely looks nice and New Englandy, nice and hazy, almost looks like juice. Yeah, I was not really a big fan, or am not really a big fan of the West Coast. I do like Lagunitas. That's kind of the exception for me. I think they make great West Coast style IPAs. But for the most part, I just don't gravitate towards them. The New England style IPAs I like a lot better because you get a lot of hop character, a lot of fruity notes without a ton of bitterness. At least in my experience, that's how it's been. So I prefer the New England IPAs for that reason. Hop character without all that nasty bitterness. That's the way that I see it. So,
what are your thoughts of Bumpy Road Brewing Company?
Yeah, I really like the New England style. The ones that I tend to really think of as the style are more put out by like Treehouse, Trillium, or even Other Half, stuff like that. I've had where it's a creamier, smoother body to it. Of course, the bitterness shouldn't really shine through too much. It should be kind of almost well balanced within the brew itself.
Yeah.
And yeah, usually on the juicier, lots of times tropical side of the flavors spectrum. So even though now some of them are pushing more pine and other notes in there, and they're getting really creative and different.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you personally living here in New England why a juicy tropical style of a beer ever became a thing in this particular part of the country. But that beer from The Alchemist, Teddy Topper, it's an 8% double IPA, was the first one from the state of Vermont that really got this whole thing going, which the brewer, I think his name is John Kamich, he talks about trying to brew an IPA that showcased all the other flavors that he really liked about the hops without it being like cut your head off kind of bitterness. So that's what you should expect if you haven't had any beers in this style. People watching around the world is that you're going to get some bitterness. It's just going to happen, but you're going to get other flavors associated with hopping and blending of said hops. So that's what's really cool to me about said style. But probably from all three of our beers, you're getting that haze look. I bet that's just the signature characteristic. This is pretty sad if this is the first time you've ever seen a hazy beer on the YouTube. But yeah, this is haze craze, haze for days, as they say. So you're getting that look for sure. Definitely a couple of different shades of it, but pretty hazy stuff there. Bumpy Road's going to start drinking right now, and I want to hear from John about his amazing sounding beer a little bit.
Okay. Well, let's see. I actually had some Tropicana mango orange juice earlier today. Or it was called Trop 50 mango orange. And this smells a lot like that. I'm definitely getting mango aromas, a little bit of like some tangerine in here as well. As you can see, it is opaque. You cannot see through it at all. Very hazy. It almost looks like juice in a lot of ways. If it wasn't for that head there, you might fool somebody into thinking this was juice. It doesn't smell like it's going to be bitter at all. So I'm definitely getting all the hop character from the Amarillo, the Citra, or no, not Citra, Amarillo Mosaic, and the Huel Melon hops. And it actually says on the label on the side, it says Melon Berry Citrus Juice Explosion. Well, I'm definitely getting, that mango and the citrus on the aroma. Like I said, it doesn't smell like it's going to be too bitter. It smells really, really good. So I guess I'll go ahead and get into it here. Cheers.
Cheers. Let's that is me. Oh no.
Oh no.
All right. I was trying to go cheers with all three. Yes.
Yes. Cheers.
Back to
so the palate follows the nose. This is definitely the type of IPA that I like. Very fruity, a lot of the tropical fruit stuff. You are getting mango. I'm getting a little bit of pineapple.
Don't forget
on
to
the
rate.
palate. I wasn't picking that up on the aroma, but I'm definitely getting that on the palate. It's really not very bitter. It's thick. It's almost got like a creamy mouthfeel. It makes me wonder if they add oats to this. It doesn't really say anything on the label, but it does have that look to it, almost as if there were oats in here. As you may be able to see on the bottom, there's actually quite a bit of sediment as well.
Gotcha. Are there any banana notes, Drunken One?
There are no banana notes with this Drunken One. Very, very nice and fruity and typical for the New England IPA style. A lot of hop character, a lot of fruity tropical notes without a lot of bitterness. So my first impressions of this beer are that it's very, very enjoyable. I'm going to keep sipping on it, and I really, really am impressed with this one. Georgia is making a lot of the New England style IPAs now, a lot of the craft breweries. This one, like I said, is out of Decatur, Georgia, but I've tried many local Georgia brews, New England style brews.
Yeah.
So anyway, good stuff.
Excellent. Yeah. I'm going to go last. I'm the host. I'll do want to get to me last so I can have the
Oh,
panelists come on. So, Puppet Road, what we got going
all
on?
right. So I'm going to follow up after Nelly. That's fantastic.
And only one bites the dust.
Yes. Once again, it's hazy. I also something I didn't mention. I like them when they look murky, but that usually indicates like sometimes the body is a little bit more smooth. Maybe there was more oats and wheat and stuff like that, possibly used in the grist. But yeah, now anything that's hazy is considered basically a New England style now for an IPA. So as long as it's got the hop aromas and stuff. But on this one, it does have a bit of a pineapple note, a little bit of a citrus, and very tropical. No banana notes. Want to get that out of the way for D1.
Thank you for the comment, Michelle. Back to
Do get a little bit of like an herbal spice note in there as well at the tail end. Kind of like that heavily dry hopped smell that just resonates in your nose a bit. Smells decent. This one is it was canned on 9/19/2019, so it is about a month old at this time, just about, or what, 3 weeks, somewhere around there. So super fresh. First day having it. It's changed a bit from then, but it still has good aromas and the flavor. Let's go into that.
cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers. Yeah. Forgot about that. The that kind of herbal spice note tends to come forward in the flavor in this. Do you get a little bit of like a tropical, slight hint of like a pineapple note in the flavor? That was more noticeable in the aromas. The body on this, it's semi-smooth, but it's not that like creamy, real soft mouthfeel. Seems to have like a medium body, kind of, I'd say, higher side of light carbonation to it. It's very, very good. Nice tasting brew. They said when it was super, super fresh from like the first week, the flavors were just that much more pronounced than what it's at now, but it's still very decent tasting New England IPA. So
Excellent. That sounds really good. Is anybody? So Bumpy brought up a really good point that I didn't even think about saying initially about said style of these hazier New England style beers, which is you get this really creamy, ultra smooth, almost kind of a fluffy mouthfeel out of your beer. And I think that's one of those things that if you don't get it right, you're kind of missing the ball a little bit on the New England hazy beer style. Did you notice any of that in your beer that you were drinking, John?
Yeah, that's why I was thinking that it might have the flaked oats in there, just because it has that creamy mouthfeel. But it could just be from the hops and because it is a little thicker. But yeah, it's got the creamy mouthfeel. I want to say they add flaked oats to this because it definitely has that mouthfeel. Yeah, you get the creaminess from the New England style a lot more than you do with the West Coast style. You really don't get that with the West Coast style IPAs, which is another reason that I prefer the New England style IPAs, because the mouthfeel I enjoy more as well. So yeah, I'm definitely picking up on that thick, almost creamy type mouthfeel with this beer as well.
Excellent. Did you notice that a little bit in your beer, right, Bumpy?
yeah, this one is I mean, as far as the mouthfeel that I really enjoy in a New England style IPA, it doesn't quite do it, but it's still the flavors and stuff are there. So, That would have
Sure.
made it much better if it was like that murky, smooth, velvety mouth. But yeah, it's just it's not quite there. It's got that little bit of softness to it.
We got Ronnie S. He wants to know once again, what is Bumpy drinking?
I am drinking the Hop Rhino
Ooh.
from Backyard Brewery. Let's just rotate that can around.
Some cool artwork right there. The pissed off looking rhino.
I love their logo
jamming
for
out
the
to
brewery.
the
That's so cool.
Oh yeah,
Jam.
The tree with the watermark or the whatever you want to call that. That's cool.
Their logo, their little logo, yeah. That is really nice. Really excellent stuff there. Yeah, so the one that I'm drinking is Sap. So Sap again is this is just a rendition off of their beer called Sap SAP. And I think the original Sap beer was done as a Christmas holiday type release because it has the Chinook hop in it, which kind of obviously you can see sap with like pine needles and stuff. It kind of gives you a little bit of that flavor to it. So I mean, by popular demand, they ask for more of that availability. So every now and then they'll make these beers in that line. So as we saw, you get all of that. Treehouse Brewing Company, by the way. As you can see from all the other beers, this one definitely is the nicest shade of haze that I've seen in a long time. I mean, in the camera, probably looks like some orange juice, and that's orange juice, pineapple juice, something like that. Bright white head. There is some lacing at the 7, 8 range on that one. If I poured, I got to be a little bit careful at the bottom of the can because I noticed that the Treehouse beers are really unfiltered, and it almost looks like you're putting in a pocket lint into the bottom of the glass. I'm like, oh boy.
Right.
But
hey, Eric. So,
yeah.
Just real quick, Drunken One is in the private chat. I think he's in the basement.
All right, let's bring him in. To your Drunken One's wisdom.
Hey.
Hello, Drunken One.
Yes. You call that orange? This is orange. All right, cheers, gang.
Oh.
Good Lord. Now, Drunken One, these are hazy IPAs, not orange juice. You do realize that,
Oh,
right?
shit, I'm in the wrong one then. Damn it.
You can compare and contrast with orange juice.
I was trying to get some head out of this, but it wouldn't do it. The most of it is orange juice. I was trying to pour it hard and get some head on it. It just didn't
If
work.
you're under 21, drink a Sun Kiss. That's a non-alcoholic hazy.
It's with 0 ABV. It's quite refreshing. Get all the vitamin C you want.
Man, wouldn't this be great with vitamin C in it? Yeah, it definitely has the orange and pineapple and grapefruit underneath that. A nice white bread note. And the yeast is coming off as like a very white peppercorn kind of a spice to it. I can tell there is some higher ABV, and I also can tell there is the piney resinous note from. I'm suggesting that Chinook is used throughout the range of the sap beer. So, yeah, cheers.
Oh, y'all are taking this shit serious, huh? I'll go get some vodka and put in here. I'll be back.
Talk about a beer. Yeah, that is like very smooth and easy going with all of that pine resin and the pineapple and a lot of pineapple and orange juice on that one. So if that's your game, there you go. It's not the driest beer, but it does have a nice silky smooth texture, and it does finish very dry, but not like cotton mouth dry. If you get beers with a high dose of Simcoe in it that's got that really, really big dank notes, then yeah, your mouth is going to be very extremely dry. So you can go through all kinds of finishes with these beers depending on how they're blending the hops. It's cool to see that most of the time these companies aren't even doing any additional adjuncts into their beer. You're just tasting hops, water, yeast, and malt, and the kind of hops that they use make the beer taste like what it does. So that's the cool part for me about all this style and stuff. This one's bitter, but again, I think for the New England style, it's done perfectly where it's not meant to be the most bitter beer and cut your head off in the bitterness. So, I mean, so far, yeah, that's a perfect mouth-feeling IPA from New England. Okay.
So even though it has the pine needles on the label there, and it has a little bit more of a piney note to it, would you say that it's still a good representation of a New England style?
Yeah, I think it's overall more in that realm than anything else. Now, they don't really say exactly the other things that they use in the beer. They just say on the website that it's loaded with notes of, they say, rich red grapefruit, apricot, and juicy tropical fruit. So that's sounds about right to me. It's in their more double IPA range. So if you like really double IPAs and bigger New England style IPAs, this range of beer is for you. Pretty good stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your experience?
The other thing too, I'm not sure if all the breweries do it or not when they're making these, but at least as like a home brewer, what they recommend that you do is you put pretty much all the hops in a whirlpool at the end of your boil. Pretty much put nothing in the boil. You can. Some breweries still do that, but it's mostly going to be at the very tail end, and then mostly whirlpool hops. And then if and what is recommended is to dry hop it as well. And with dry hopping, they say to put the hops in during like the first 3 days of fermentation. So you kind of get this. I can't think of the name of what they call it, but basically the yeast and the hops, they have this little like chemical romance together, and it changes the way that the hops actually give off their aromas. It like changes the known aromas of the hops and stuff. So
okay. Huh.
Interesting.
Yeah, you learned me something right there.
All right. It looked like well, we already went over sun-kissed orange soda. But
yeah, no, I know. I'm sorry. I seen it was kind of quiet over here. I figured I'd jump in to give y'all some help.
Carl, well, I'm going to show this for 5 seconds. According to Craig Swenson, it's only hazy because.
Oh man.
Good God, Craig! You're usually very very calm, cool, and collected. You're really letting go tonight, buddy.
Proper.
Well, I will say that mine needs a little bit more jizz in it because it doesn't have the right mouth texture. It just needs a little bit more.
Yeah, Eric's beer looks pretty.
I think mine's good just the way it is. I don't need any of that in my beer.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. No lacing, no alcohol burn, no carbonation.
No, not even a little bit. Orange soda, right?
No, I tried. I poured this stuff hard in there. It just wasn't enough.
Damn.
But drink one. How does it make you feel?
It makes me feel like I'm overdosing on 100 calories and vitamin.
A lot of sugar.
Lots of sugar. Get a sugar rush.
I like sugar, but I prefer mine to be fermented.
There you go. Cheers to that.
Do something with that sugar, for God's sakes.
Yeah, you should pour that into a container and leave it up in your window for a week. It will ferment.
There you go. Yes, sir. And it would.
Hard orange soda.
Yeah, that it would. I'm gonna give this to the kid. He'll enjoy it more so than I will.
Wow. Damn. Lots of nice lacing on that glass. I like that.
Yeah, the lacing looks awesome. Yeah, you do have the orangest of the
orangest. There's a word for you, Haze.
Yeah, you put that in your list of descriptors, boys.
The craziest of haziest. All right, sure.
But you probably paid twice the cost for yours, right?
This one may have been more orange. I mean, I honestly have no idea how old this beer is. I didn't mention that before. There's no date on here, no lot code, no date, no nothing. But
automatic 0.
I mean, that kind of sucks. But I know it's not too old because it tastes pretty fresh. It tastes very good. The hops don't have that musty, faded type character that you get with old beers, old hoppy beers. So it's still relatively fresh. But our good buddy Steve over there at Eclipse Brewing, he said the first thing with the New England IPAs to fade before the hop character is actually the color, because they're bright orange typically when you brew them. As you can see, this one is still orange, but it's kind of it's not bright to the extent that yours is, Eric. So my guess would be that this is, and I think he said right around a month or a little over a month. So I would guess this is probably about a month old, if maybe a little bit older. Anyway, I trust I trust Steve over at Eclipse Brewing. He's a home brewer as well. He seems to know his stuff, and he said that's one of the first things to go is that brightness, that color, even before the hop character itself begins to fade. The color starts to fade. So
that's weird. Like, where does the color go? I mean, really, where does
I
it
don't
go?
know.
It's captured in there. Where does it go?
Here's another thing too. That now this one doesn't state that it's a New England style IPA, but it is hazy. It does say that it's a double IPA, but they did ferment it on fresh pineapples. So that's another thing that I think some brewers might be doing now is putting fruits into the beer as well. The New England IPAs. I know we have the milkshakes where they add lactose, vanilla bean, and fruits and stuff. So
yeah, there's a ton of.
That's interesting because you could get like pineapple from the hops as well as pineapple from the actual pineapple that it's fermented on. So it's like double pineapple in there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like that. That's probably going to catch on, Bumpy, with the New England style IPAs. A lot of actual fruit juice added to the beer to like really up the fruitiness of it.
That's the other thing is that as Bumpy said, is that there are brewers that are doing milkshake IPAs and smoothie IPAs, and I mean, it all came about because people are imagining that's the taste that they're drinking, so might as well just accentuate that. Just like with the pineapple, if you're gonna put pineapple in it, might as well accentuate the taste of pineapple. Might as well put the lactose in to accentuate this milkshakey. I think some of that can be pretty good. I think that's just some of that's a little bit too crazy experimental for my my personal liking, but some of those can be good when it's not when for me at least, I don't like the most sugary sweet beer IPA. I do prefer more of the drier, almost Pilsner malty like kind of taste to the beer. So those are the ones that I like to sort of tend to gravitate towards, or the doubles that have a really good way of masking that taste. The ones that I don't really appreciate a whole bunch are the ones that don't, are the ones that, taste really big and bold, which is good sometimes, but that's not necessarily 100% of the time what I want out of that New England style. So for this particular version of a double, I know it's on the lower end at 7.8. That one's hitting a lot of the marks. What are you thinking at the end of the day, drinking on some good old Georgia New England IPA there, John?
Right, Rowdy and Proud. I really like it. It's one of, well, I mean, I've had a lot of good New England IPAs lately because Georgia's making, a lot of the local breweries are making these now. Whereas when I first started getting into the New England style IPAs, they were quite rare. I had to find New England IPAs that are coming from up where you guys are, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, because they weren't popular here. Now they are. And I've been very impressed with a lot of them. This one is actually, it's really, really good. It doesn't have any added, actual added fruit. It doesn't have the lactose in there. So all of the fruity flavors and everything are actually coming from the hops. I do like that. It's more of like a pure beer in that sense. It's not very bitter, like I said before. And it is very fruity, very juicy. And it has that creamy mouthfeel, which, like I said, kind of makes me think they have add flaked oats in this. But I can't really say for sure. I probably should have done a little bit more research on this beer. But it's very enjoyable. It's one of the better ones that I've had recently. It's definitely in the A range. I think it's probably like a 96 out of 100. It's a lot harder for me to rate these than like stouts and sours and stuff because I don't drink as many of these. I'm getting more into the New England IPAs. I've had more lately. Most of them have been pretty good, and this one is no exception. So yeah, I'm going to go with a 96 out of 100. I think if you like New England style IPAs, I think you really can't go wrong with this. Very juicy and fruity. And with the mouthfeel, it's very nice. The alcohol is masked exceptionally well. The body isn't too heavy. It's more on the medium side. The carbonation is kind of low, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing for this style because of the creaminess. You don't necessarily want it to be super high on the carbonation. So anyway, 96 out of 100. I really am enjoying this beer, and I'm glad I picked up the 6-pack.
Nice.
Ronnie S says he doesn't find many local Florida, New England IPAs.
They're coming, Ronnie. They're coming. They're down here in Georgia now. I think they'll be in Florida pretty soon as well. They're lighting up the East Coast, man, or the eastern part of the U.S. Even in California, I've seen some breweries out in California. I believe Lagunitas is actually one of them, even though they've kind of been bought out. They have a brewery in Chicago, Illinois now, but they have I can't think of the name of it, but they have their take on a New England style IPA now, which I think is interesting since their brewery originated out in Petaluma. I think that's pretty cool that they're now doing a New England style IPA. So I think that the style is here to stay, and I think we're only going to continue to see more and more of these types of beers as time goes on.
I believe it.
Yeah. Well, down in Florida, they have their own IPA going. It's the Florida IPA, so they just call it the Flippa.
I knew a bumpy joke was coming. I was all right. Good stuff. Flippa. All right.
Jesus. So you gave that a 96. It's a pretty damn high rating.
Pretty dang tasty. Yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it.
What's Bumpy's impression of the Hopper Rhino?
All right, so my video is not posted on this one yet. I did the video the first day I brought it home in its little baby blanket from the brewery and coddled it and everything. So that video hasn't posted.
We love you, Craig. Keep going.
What it is now, like 3 weeks later to a month later, I'm going to deduct like 3 points from it. It's just the nose has kind of died down a little bit. The flavors have died down a little bit more. So I'm going to give this a 46 out of 50 on my 50-point scale. Still lands in the excellent range. I still think it's an excellent New England IPA.
Nice.
Of course, the mouthfeel could have been better, but
we got a good rating there. Damn. All right. Well, we're all seeming to be okay with said style. That's pretty good. We got a special guest in the building, in the audience. He's here. He's not the audience anymore. Thrash Metal. Mm-hmm. That looks way too pale for a hazy, crazy beer.
No, I was drinking on this one, and I saw you guys going. And we got Pulp Fusion, which is a blood orange IPA. It's about as close as I can get to a New England right now.
Sure.
That I can get a hold of, but
there you go.
Yeah, I'll be pouring this up in a bit.
Nice. Excellente. He just came back a couple of days ago from the Great American Beer Festival there in Denver, Colorado. Sounds like
it was a blast.
Yeah,
what a blast, man. I didn't know what to expect. I know that there a lot of beer sipping, and when you got 4,000 different beers to try,
right?
You don't have enough time. That's 1,000 beers an hour. Seriously, because it's only open for 4 hours.
Hey, I would try my hardest to get through all. Ooh, nice. Yeah.
They had the IPA edition out there, and oh man, they had some. Jameson was really doing they had a really good setup. I'm telling you, I'll be putting a video out on it, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, all right.
But yeah, this is like all the breweries that they did Caskmates with. Great Divide.
Oh shit. Ooh.
Oh wow! So the IPA Caskmates, which is their IPA, their Irish whiskey finished in IPA barrels. Those are all the different breweries that they get their barrels from.
Yep.
Basically,
I think that's all of them.
Very cool. Yeah. So you never really know. I'm assuming it's probably a blend of.
Yeah, it's really cool on the process that they do it. I'll have to take a picture of this and send it to you, John. But it goes through how they do it all. It's very interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. Very nice.
Blast. Wish you guys could have been there. We would have had a blast.
Yeah, we do too.
All doing this damn thing together. Always
Bumpy needs a vacation.
Bumpy vacay. Oh yeah. Yeah. So again, I'm drinking on this Sap. It says Sap. Again, their rendition from Treehouse of their original Sap beer. So I noticed I noticed this with a lot of New England IPAs, that when you get closer to the bottom of that can, the beer's complexion kind of changes a little bit. You can get even more of a spicy, kind of a peppery note. And on this particular beer, yeah, I'm noticing more of that almost smoothie-ish kind of sweetness to it. The sweetness actually came out a lot more towards the end of this can, which is kind of interesting, and it builds up on the body and the intensity of the beer a little bit. So much bigger beer this tastes like, if you were to say that. Much bigger beer this tastes like once you get to the bottom of the can. 7.8, still not the biggest beer, but again, it grew in intensity a little bit. I seem to be giving a lot of 93s lately. I don't see why not to give this one a 93. I think that's a perfectly good rating. Once
That's
you get to the
great
bottom of that
can art.
can, it's not quite as smooth as it once was. But if you pour this thing very carefully and a little meticulously, there's a big word, you can get the best of all of the unfiltered flavor to it. If you like more of the sweet flavor, you can be a little bit more aggressive, but watch out that you don't get big chunks.
Yeah, you get the Alex 4.5, 5-finger head.
Yeah.
Right.
It does everything really beautifully. So again, I don't know if you heard this one, Thrash, but from Treehouse, the Sap line of beers, I believe they started out in like the holiday December season. More people
Nice.
wanted it, so they brought it out more year round on a limited type basis. But I believe they are using some Chinook hop, so you're getting a little bit of resinous pine in the background, which is kind of cool. Not quite West Coast in theme overall, but it brings a nice roundness to all the different hopping flavors. So 93.
Well, my opinion when it comes to the New England type IPAs, when the West Coast, if you start introducing a lot of West Coast hops, I think you kind of destroy it in a way, because I think the NEPAs really their key is the fruit bomb, the really good hops that are not piney, staying away from eating a pine cone, when you're drinking. So yeah, if you're a West Coast brewer and you're trying to do a NEPA, I mean,
Stop it.
well, just don't use your hops.
All right.
Import them, damn it.
Yeah.
Give Eric and John. a call.
I have noticed that in some of those California brews I've had where they were supposed to be New England IPAs, and they're barely hazy. They got that very viscous mouthfeel, light body. There's no smoothness to it at all, and they do have a lot of pine notes in it. So it's like a hazy West Coast IPA is all it is.
I think the NEPAs. I think that is the best trend that has come around in a long time. I really like NEPAs. They're awesome.
NEPAs, and for me, sours. That's up there for me. I love a good sour ale.
Yep.
And of course, anything barrel aged, which pretty much all the stouts it seems like I'm drinking now are barrel aged. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing, though.
Right.
So you just poured the Blood Orange.
Pulp Fusion Blood Orange IPA. This is out of the oldest craft beer brewery in Colorado. It's Boulder Beer Company. They've been around since, I think, 1979.
Wow.
Let's go to Thrash Metal Live.
Their Shake Chocolate Porter is one of the best porters that I've had. Good stuff.
Yep. I can pull a can out to show people.
That's what you said.
Good stuff. Let me go grab it.
So that's their fusion IPA with grapefruit added, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, John.
Yeah, I think they use pink grapefruit in it.
Yeah.
And what John's talking about is this guy right here.
Oh, yeah.
At you.
So this is the Shake Chocolate Porter.
Ooh.
Why are you gonna flip us all off?
I know, right?
Sorry. And then another one that they have is Gold.
Buffalo Gold. All right.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah. So there's kind of a short tour. This is just
That's pretty cool.
just a small number of what they have.
Yeah.
You're probably going to see a ton of reviews from CBP on Boulder Beer, because I sent him 6 different types, I think, from there.
Nice.
Yeah, cheers.
Dang.
I need another beer to
Head
cheers.
right there, damn. Or maybe sudsy. Maybe that's kind of sudsy, right?
It is a little sudsy. It's not too tight.
Snap, crackle, pop.
Snap, crackle, pop. Yeah, you get the big old monster.
Fish eyes,
Yeah.
right?
Right there, yeah.
It's nicely carbonated.
That it looks.
You know,
How similar or maybe dissimilar is it to the New England hoppy beer styles?
on the low end.
Okay.
From a bitterness standpoint, I think this thing I don't think this thing even hits 45, 50 on the IBU. Yep, it hit 52. 6.5%. Let me see if I can show it. Come on, baby.
Word for it.
No word for that.
It's like, come on!
All picture. Excellent. All right. That was his statement, everybody.
You keep my face up, I'm gonna start making
a
face.
beer over there. Let's see what's in the fridge today. There's Bumpy.
We go take care of the dog.
I'm breaking out We Can Be Heroes.
Ooh. Good song by David Bowie.
Yeah, the proceeds go to help the Concord Police Department and their dogs that help them out. So the dogs can be heroes.
Concord, New Hampshire. There you go. Boom. All right. Sweet. What's going on in John and Ellie world? How's the beers going? How's the beer going?
The beer is gone. One thing about these juicy New England style IPAs, they drink pretty much like juice. So they go down very nice, very smooth. And now I got to find something else to drink.
Back to Bumpy Road Brewery.
Now this is not a New England IPA. This is a pale ale.
However, look at that color though.
However, it looks exactly like a New England IPA, and it smells like it too.
Maybe it looks a little bit paler than that, but not much.
Yeah, I think the body's a bit thinner.
Thank you for 5 people watching. I love you all.
It's got kind of a lychee type aroma to it, a little bit of
Lychee.
kind of a light citrus, kind of lemon-esque.
Nice. Sounds good. Oh,
A little bit of like a cracker to a very light bread malt aroma as well.
now you all know where Craig Swenson's from.
Cheers.
Bam. Concord, New Hampshire. Cheers, everybody. Let's get a big old cheers if you have a beer.
I'm going to go grab something else.
You'll get it together. John feels bad. He didn't cheers. Oh, back to Bumpy Road though.
So,
Whatever you
let's
want.
see. I can read the back real quick and say, we have brewed We Can Be Heroes to recognize liberty, a comfort dog working with the Concord PD from assisting officers and civilians in the field to providing a calming element for folks reporting violent crimes. Liberty shows us that we can be heroes for more than one day. So, yeah.
Alan's Beer and Gaming said you sniff intensely. There you go. Bumpy sniffs intensely.
Bumpy's this intense sniffler.
Yeah.
Sniffler's mom's got it going on.
Sniffler.
I think my nose works a lot better than drunken ones. But yeah, my flavor is
Troy's like,
but
screw you.
tongue. They're not like John and Ellie's or Eric's. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Is
Those
it
work sometimes good.
like a New England IPA or just within similar styles? I mean, there's got to be some amount of subtleties there. There's got to be some amount of different things going on. So to the point, as a beer reviewer, you don't sound like a broken record. I mean, when you try all these New England kind of pale ales, IPAs, double IPAs, even some of the blonde ales that they're not calling New England, they all seem to smell and almost taste fairly the same. I mean, you're getting variation between styles, but that's the problem doing a lot of beers in one style. Everything is just going to sound like a broken record to a certain extent until the one really jumps out at you as there's an exceptional beer.
Right.
How does the one you're drinking compare to others within said style?
Yeah. I had the one I'm drinking.
Yeah.
No, it's different. This one doesn't have like real tropical notes. I mean, it's got like that. It's. Oh, let's see. How can we say this?
Craig.
It's got this, like, you get a little bit of a malt, but it's very light. It's kind of like that cracker type flavor. You're getting that. It's kind of well balanced with these very light. It's not coming off as orange or anything like that, but it's a citrus note. And that's why I'm going to call it that lychee type flavor, or what I was getting in the aroma as well. And yeah, it does kind of have like a little bit of like a lemon note to it as well. This one, it's pretty light on the flavor spectrum, but it all blends well together. So it's not tropical. So I can't really say that this one, even though it's hazy, it does not go into that New England IPA type flavor characters at all.
Huh.
So, plus the body on it's very, very wet. It's not really. The only smoothness out of it is because there's hardly any carbonation in this one.
Damn. Alrighty then.
All right.
Cool. How would you rate the sun-kissed orange juice there?
That was definitely a 74 until it gets some vodka in it, and then maybe you can get into the 90 category depending on the style of vodka.
Well, what is your set experience with the hazy hoppy New England style?
Oh, man, I love those styles of beer. I just didn't have one today. They're in the refrigerator. The last time I had anything that was hoppy, I found that they were really, really old. I got a mixed pack of Sweetwater. It was a 12 pack box, and the thing was, it's kind of weird. There was 5 different flavors. I know 12 pack box. There was like 2 each of 3 kinds, and then the other 2 kinds had 3 each. Anyway, it makes up 12. But what I found on them is all of them were from pardon the
1986.
It is what it is. It's a 911 of 18. I just got that box the other day, So when I go back to Specs Liquor, I'll let them know I did drink all of them because I'm a lush, and but I'm gonna let them know. I'm gonna let them know.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, I was like, these are supposed to be IPAs, and they're awfully thin. There's just no flavors of these things. What's up?
Yeah, I suppose that's another polarizing topic in IPAs or just beer in general is the session IPA. I know that was a huge thing probably last year, maybe 2 years ago. Everybody was trying to brew this hoppy, but relatively lower sessionable ABV beer. Now, some people I think have done it really well. I do think that the Founders beer is a good example. It's a terrible example of a New England style beer, but it's a really great example of what you do with lower ABV. I think it's more about what you cram into the beer as far as other ingredients, but when you start to put probably other ingredients into it or more malts or whatever, you're just going to naturally bump up the ABV.
Exactly.
Yep. We got one they put out. I did a video on it already, but it was before the beer was actually released. My wife had brought it home because they gave samples out to bartenders. But they packaged it. It's on the shelf. It's from Concord Craft Brewery out of Concord, New Hampshire. And they have one called Finding Nipa. So it's a session New England IPA.
Okay.
So I'll probably have to grab it with the can and do because I never did a 50-point inspection on it. This was before I was doing that. So probably have to do a 50-point inspection on it and just see kind of where that falls. It wasn't bad when I had it, from what I
What
can
would
remember.
it
So
entail if you did like a 100-point inspection? Would that screw everything up?
the videos would be a lot longer,
Yeah, right.
like probably twice as long.
So what about that 25-point inspection?
Yeah, most of it would just be me trying to count and be like,
He does a 80-point
get the calculator out.
and then he does a 20-point car inspection right afterwards.
Calculate this. Wait a minute.
No, I do a 4-point inspection on the car. I walk around and kick each tire.
I can't go keyboard, everybody. Got a loud keyboard now. Sorry.
5,000 people watching there.
Minus 4,999. Or I can't see. I can't even do math. I got that number wrong.
That's right.
4,994 minus. There we go. There's math for you. I don't know. I live in New England. I guess my overall thoughts before y'all want to go to free form, whatever you want to talk about, which is cool with me. I guess my overall thoughts are the first time I think I ever tried the style must have been Trillium Congress Street, and I waited in line before a Patriots playoff game in like January, which was kind of a stupid thing for an hour. But having it for the first time ever, that converted me. And actually my introduction to like getting into all the hoppy beers. Hopefully that's where it kind of the lineage is for most people, because I think that's how it happened. Was with all of the West Coast stuff. I don't think you would have a Haze Craze without all the West Coast, and especially the California breweries doing what they were doing with beers like a Pliny the Elder, or I had that last year when I went over there. I didn't think much of it, but
No, I'm the same, Eric. Pliny.
yeah. But what was it to me? I think I had the Hoptimum by Sierra Nevada, and maybe the West.
Yeah.
The original version of West Coast IPA from Green Flash. And those are like two beers that really kind of put it into perspective for me, that as hoppy as those beers are, you can have real good bitterness, but real good malt flavor to it. I'm not really that crazy about hops being greater than malts or malts being greater than hops. I kind of like them working in a unison. And I think a New England IPA is really exceptional at doing both of those things. So, yeah. Cool. So, what is it for you, Mr. Bumpy Road, about New England IPAs, or just your IPA journey that's just made you gravitate towards said style?
My oh geez, IPA journey. Wow, so when I first started actually drinking craft beer, because I used to when I would think of craft before
here's a dumbass. Here's a dumbass.
Good Lord.
Here's another dumbass.
I was trying to remove those comments, but they're not even showing up on my end, other than in
good. All right, continue, Bumpy Road.
My thoughts exactly.
I'm not afraid to show that. Not for long.
You need a bumpy flag.
No, my first IPA that I ever had was Dogfish Head 60 Minute, and I had it at a restaurant. So I ordered it. I got it. Got the bottle, got the glass, poured it in the glass, and I took my first sip, and I was so disgusted. I didn't know how anybody could drink anything like that, because to me it tasted like I put a bunch of like pennies, like old pennies, in my mouth. It was just sucking on them. It was so like bitter and kind of coppery metal like flavor to me. But by the end of the glass, I ordered a second one, because it just hit me. It caught on that quick by like first impression to like, okay, well, I'm going to drink it because I just paid whatever, $5-6 for one bottle, might as well. And yeah, after that, I started seeking them out and looking for them. I cannot remember my first New England IPA I ever had, but I do believe it was with my friend Jeff. He invited me over because he's big into Trillium. So he had some Trillium beers, and he was like, hey, try this, and he was sharing them with me, and I was like, holy crap, and I actually had my first sap from Treehouse with him as well, and I thought the regular sap, the SAP one, I thought that was fantastic, and I was like picking out notes of like it was like a pine, but it wasn't like the pine needles. It was kind of like the branch of the pine. It was like the sappiness with the pine type deal, and it was just fantastic. And then I did have my first Alchemist beer. I went to Vermont. I got the Prohibition Pig in Vermont because I couldn't find Heady Topper anywhere. Because you go to a store, basically they deliver it and it was just gone. It was always gone. So I finally, at that restaurant, they had them on tap. So I got my first Heady Topper, and I still think that that's my favorite Alchemist beer is Heady Topper. I've had multiple other ones from them. That's still my favorite beer from them, which is the original, like you mentioned at the beginning, start of the whole New England IPA thing. Which, if you look at what they are today, from what that was, I mean that's 100. Yeah. That's 101 IBUs or something. It's crazy, but I thought it was great.
Nice. What do you think? What do you think, John? What do you think of the whole hoppy beers? How'd you get into it? What led you to New England IPAs?
Well, what led me to New England IPAs was that I wasn't a huge fan of the West Coast stuff, other than Lagunitas and a select few West Coast style IPAs, and then I got to try New England style IPA. I really liked it, and that's pretty much it. I can't think of the first one that I had, but once I tried a New England style IPA, I realized that I liked them a lot better, and I've been gravitating towards them over the West Coast style ever since. That's pretty much it.
I reported that
long, fancy story like Bumpy there.
I reported that guy. I told YouTube that
what did I say?
Ed that stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
That stuff. So there you go. Yeah, it looks like his comments are gone. So either YouTube instantly cut it off or whatnot. But
I think they did. Honestly, they never showed up in the. They showed up on the StreamYard, but I'm watching on my phone too, just in case stuff like this happens, because I can help moderate. And it never showed up in the actual chat on YouTube.
Nope, sure didn't.
So you, although everybody can see it now because you
right. Well, that was something I just noticed because I've been doing editing videos today, and it said at the top, it said now YouTube will hold inappropriate, what they consider inappropriate messages for your review, and it's not even an option. It's just like that's what they do now. I had a little blue banner as I'm like uploading videos,
There are streaming guidelines that you need to be aware of, and policy, safety, and copywriting information. So they will most likely do with what they need to do. But whatever, I just say that to that guy and don't get too bent about it. I recorded his ass.
We're talking about.
So that's all I needed to do. Anyway,
that's kind of a colorful portion of your live stream, Eric.
Oh, from a 19-year-old from God knows where. God, no pun intended. Yeah, thrash metal. You got that long history with the beers. Where's IPA? How does IPA come into the picture and hoppy beer?
So craft beer's been around for a while here, but I wasn't into stouts, and I wasn't into real radical bitter beers for a long time. And I had a buddy of mine before I got into homebrewing. He had a homebrew, which was an IPA, and I'm going, I don't know if I'm going to like this or not. So when I drank it, I was really surprised that, like, it was kind of a bumpy experience where at the beginning you're like, this is just a little too much. But by the time you got to the end of the beer, you're like, this is actually pretty good.
Right.
So from commercial beer standpoint, Titan IPA was a big one for me. Goose Island IPA was a big one for me. And then a few, odds and end IPAs that are like around here in Colorado that you can get a hold of real easily. But I was really into the West Coast IPAs for a long time. And then when the New Englands came out, they have that posé, type thing versus the West Coast where the way that they introduce the hops, and it's not in the boil, it's after the boil. So all the hops are put in in after the flame is out. So that's where you get all your juiciness and the lower IBUs. You don't get those piney notes. But yeah, that's how I got into it. Is had someone just shove one in my face and said, "Hey, drink this." It was a homebrew. It was a homebrew.
Nice chug, John. Craig says, "Please don't ban me." No, we're not going to. Craig.
He's got a finger on the trigger.
What are
There's
you?
no chugging going on over here in Georgia.
What were you doing there? I saw you tipping that thing back for a couple seconds.
I don't know. I was just taking a big sip, I guess.
That's a chug. Isn't that a chug? All right. What's your history on hoppy beers? Let's hear a little tiny bit about hoppy beers. Drunken one.
Pardon you on me. I was still working on that, dude.
Face down over there.
How did I start? I just I guess just found them at the market, started enjoying them, and I also have had the Congress Street from Trillium. It was sent to me from Beer Patrol, along with a bunch of other ones, and that's probably my most favorite ever. It was the most orangey, like I mentioned a while ago. It definitely had that very, very creamy mouthfeel. I don't know exactly if they use the oats or lactose or what in there, but yeah, that was definitely the most enjoyable IPA I've ever drank. And but I still like the lesser ones. You mentioned Founders All Day IPA. Those are good, quite watered down. Obviously, a lot less in the ABV category, but yeah, I drink a little bit of everything though. But the IPAs I've learned to like, and I enjoy them a lot. Short story long.
Bam. Well, if you needed to know, yes, white wheat malt is in Congress Street IPA.
Okay. Dextrose, right?
Use a C15 and a dextrin and a dextrose in their malts. So all that just must be really good mouthfeel type of stuff. So I mean, yeah, I think IPAs and definitely certain kinds of like Belgian beers, like even some of the funky yeasty ones, took me the longest time to appreciate. But that's the cool part of A, being in YouTube, or B, being in YouTube, and before I ever did like the YouTube thing, I did the Beer Advocate thing for the longest time. And you can totally see from I started Beer Advocate when I was 21. So I'm 31 now. You can totally see you progressing in maybe not liking certain styles of beers and not liking them as much, and then going through different styles to go, oh, that's pretty good. So that's what I like most about the beer reviewing thing is that you tend to find stuff that maybe you didn't like, now all of a sudden you do, or stuff you thought you liked at one point, now you might have grown tired or old of it, but it's just kind of showing some kind of progression in you as the beer drinker, which is cool. But we are the booze bags, so sometimes we do a little bit of drinking, whether it's doing a review or most likely not.
Hellish, yeah.
Hellish, yeah.
I don't know what else to say. I think that's a cool place to jump off right an hour and 3. Fuck that other guy, Craig. We're not banning you. Thank you for joining, Craig. He's in New Hampshire as well. Red Hulk, he says, was his first IPA. He's old.
I bet he's from Concord.
He's from the home of the grapes. All right, great. All right, so any final words, thoughts, opinions on the Haze Craze? You think it's going to last into the future? How long? I don't know.
I think it's going to last a while because it kind of just started if you really look at it. Yeah. People are going to start doing like one-offs from it. And either it's going to go bad or it'll go good.
Well, yeah, I think the New England IPAs are here to stay. They're relatively new, but they're very popular. They keep increasing in popularity. If you think about it, another relatively new style is the Brute IPA, and that never really caught on. So they're not really making the Brute IPAs anymore. But the New England IPAs, so that was a fad. New England IPAs are very popular. They keep expanding, so they're obviously here to stay. And one other thing I'll say, and then I'll shut up, is IPAs, particularly West Coast IPAs, are kind of like hot sauce. Like at first, it may be a little unpleasant and like, oh man, this is too much. Then the more you eat it, it's like, wow, this is really enjoyable. And the heat kind of settles the more your palate gets used to it. IPAs are a lot like hot sauce in that way, I think.
Okay.
Analogy.
One way to put it. Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of
I like hot sauce.
get accustomed to it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Hot sauce.
Micheladas.
Got any final thoughts for the beer examination Haze Craze as we close out Bumpy one?
Do I have any final thoughts?
Yeah, just in general.
Do you have any thoughts?
I thought I have no thoughts.
What are you thinking
I
right
don't know
now?
what the hell is going on.
Not much going on up there.
All right. Just chill.
Well, I thought I was gonna do that whole thing where whether or not I thought New England IPA was gonna be
Cheers, all.
fading away or not. But yeah, it's I think the this went well.
People
I
actually
don't know.
I know.
I wish I was better prepared, I guess. But I think overall, I think everybody except for the drunken ones, New England IPA was well done. Yeah. I personally, if I just jump onto that whole New England IPA thing, I mean, it's been around for what now, like about a decade. New England IPAs.
Right, yeah.
Has it been that long? I was going to say maybe 4 or 5 years. If that.
Well, when did Heady Topper start off?
Well, the man started off in the back streets, but it really didn't come out like here in Colorado until just recently, just a few years ago.
That came out in, I'm trying to see here. Oh, 2011 maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so close to a decade. And I guess it depends on where you live too, because the New England IPAs didn't hit here until much later. So Eric and Bumpy live where you guys were the first to get those types of beers.
This Alchemist Brewery actually started as a brew pub in Waterbury, Vermont, and they were brewing and serving the beer occasionally since starting in the year 2003. So, I mean, I think in 2011, when they started their full production brewery, was when probably this style really became a commercial thing. But it's amazing to see how even early on, somebody like this John Kimmich guy from Alchemist even had this idea that hops can be a flavor and can provide so much more to a beer than just plain bitterness. Mm-hmm. So I think if you're really, I'm trying to remember whom the booze bags we were trying to compare these styles of beers to, but if you're not really the heaviest of IBUs, bitter fans, you still might actually find something that a New England IPA will do positively for you, possibly. So you never know until you try some of this stuff. So
yep.
I guess off there we go. Do whatever we will. We shall.
Run off and get you one, boys. Get you some IPAs.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
And until next time, my beers. Glasses.
Cheers.
Thanks for having me outside, man.
In those great beers. Cheers. We, all of us, will hopefully see you soon. Yeah. Cheers.